Stars filled the black ocean of space like scattered diamonds. Out there, beyond the silent beauty, the war zone waited. The fleet of humanity moved forward, a wall of steel and light cutting through the dark. Hundreds of massive ships advanced in formation, their engines glowing with power. Every crew member knew what this moment meant. No more peace talks, no more patience. Humanity had come to end the war. Aboard the flagship Resolute Dawn, Admiral Mara Vance stood at the viewing deck, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. The tension in the air was heavy. For weeks, they had traveled through uncharted space to reach this sector, the enemy's heart. Now they were here. Ahead, sensors showed massive enemy structures orbiting a dying red star. The opposition stronghold, the base where so many human fleets had vanished before. No warning was given. No messages sent. The fleet's orders were clear: strike fast, strike hard, leave nothing behind. Humanity had been pushed to the edge, its colonies burned, its ships ambushed for years. But tonight, everything would change. "Admiral, all ships are in position," said Commander Holt, his voice steady though his eyes betrayed his nerves. Mara nodded slowly. "Begin the operation." Across the fleet, thousands of cannons charged, humming with energy. The void lit up with blue light as the first wave of plasma fire tore across the darkness. Beams and torpedoes streaked through the black, slamming into enemy fortresses before alarms could even sound. Explosions rippled through the structures, silent but terrible, tearing them apart like paper. Inside one of the enemy's great citadels, chaos erupted. The opposition, a coalition of alien empires that had united to crush humankind, had never seen an attack like this. They had grown used to human defense, not offense. But this time, there was no hesitation, no mercy. Back on Resolute Dawn, the bridge was alive with movement. Officers shouted over one another as the tactical displays filled with glowing red and green icons. Enemy ships waking up, moving to respond. But it was too late. Humanity's fleet was already among them, weaving through their defenses, firing relentlessly. "Enemy fleets forming up near Sector 9, a young ensign called. "Good," Mara replied. "That's where they'll die." Part of her knew how ruthless she sounded, but there was no other choice. The opposition had destroyed Earth's outer colonies, wiped out cities, and enslaved survivors. Millions of her people were gone. Mercy had no place here. Humanity had to show that it would not just survive, it would strike back. Outside the bridge window, the battle unfolded like a storm. Fighters darted between capital ships, leaving trails of light behind them. Explosions bloomed like new suns. The fleet moved as one, their timing perfect. This wasn't the scattered human navy of the past. This was something forged by desperation, united by vengeance. Amid the chaos, Captain Rhys Calderon of the destroyer Iron Saber dove through a hail of enemy fire. His ship shook violently, but he grinned. "They're panicking," he said to his crew. "Push forward!" The destroyer's guns blazed, slicing through enemy cruisers. One after another, the alien ships erupted in fire. Through the comms, cheers echoed from other human crews. For the first time in decades, humanity wasn't running. It was winning. But victory never came easy. Sensors lit up with new contacts, dozens of massive ships emerging from hyperspace. The opposition's reinforcements, dark, spiked vessels, ancient and powerful. On the Resolute Dawn, Holt turned pale. "Admiral, we've got a problem." "Their heavy fleet just arrived." Mara's jaw tightened. "Then we finish this fast." She opened the fleet channel. Her voice echoed through every ship. "This is Admiral Vance. You all know why we're here. We fight not for Earth alone, but for every soul they've taken. No retreat, no surrender. Humanity stands together." A roar of voices answered her across the comms. Soldiers, pilots, engineers, all shouting as one. The ships adjusted formation, diving straight into the heart of the enemy line. The first clash was brutal. Enemy dreadnoughts opened fire with crimson beams that sliced through space. One human cruiser took a direct hit and vanished in an instant. Another followed seconds later. But still they advanced. The fleet's counterfire was merciless, punching through enemy armor, tearing their ships apart piece by piece. Captain Rhys's destroyer weaved between two colossal vessels, launching torpedoes that detonated deep inside their hulls. His crew cheered as the twin giants exploded, scattering debris into the void. Yet amid the chaos, something strange began to happen. Enemy ships stopped firing. One by one, they halted, drifting silently. The human fleet slowed too, uncertain. "What's happening?" Holt asked. Mara frowned. "Scan them." The sensors flickered. Then, nothing. No energy readings. No life signs. It was as if the enemy had simply ceased to exist. Across the fleet, silence fell. The opposition, the mighty alien alliance that had terrorized humanity for years, was gone. No wreckage, no survivors, no trace. "Is it over?" Holt whispered. Mara stared out into the dark. "No," she said softly. "Nothing ends this easily." As her words faded, the lights on the bridge flickered. A strange signal pulsed through the fleet's communications. A low, rhythmic tone, unlike anything human-made. Every ship received it. Every system echoed it. In the silence of space, humanity's victory began to feel less like triumph, and more like the beginning of something else. Something watching. Something waiting. And though the opposition had ceased to be, the war, the true war, had only just begun. The fleet drifted among the remains of the battle, surrounded by silent wreckage and the eerie stillness of victory. The stars glowed faintly beyond the smoke and debris fields, but something about the light felt wrong, dimmer, colder. On board the Resolute Dawn, Admiral Mara Vance stood motionless, staring at the strange pulse on the holo display. It beat like a heartbeat, steady and deep, echoing through every ship's comms. No one could trace its source. "Admiral," Commander Holt said quietly, breaking the silence. "All scans confirm the same result. The opposition's ships are empty. No life signs. No radiation. No organic matter at all. How can that be?" Mara asked, her voice low. "We destroyed some of them, yes, but not all. The rest, they just vanished." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. The sound continued. Thump, 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 vibrating through the air like something alive. Across the fleet, reports came flooding in. Systems were flickering. Power levels were shifting by themselves. Even the stars on the navigational maps seemed to move, as if the entire region of space were bending around them. In the medical bay of the Iron Saber, Captain Reese Calderon checked on his wounded crew. Many were exhausted but alive. The moment of celebration was already gone, replaced by fear and confusion. He looked up as one of his engineers rushed in. "Captain, we're picking up interference across every sensor. It's like something's inside the data itself." "What do you mean inside?" Reese frowned. "Every reading changes when we look at it. It's as if the data doesn't want to be understood." Reese stared at her. "That's impossible." "I thought so too, sir." "But it's spreading." Back on the Resolute Dawn, Admiral Vance made her decision. "Send drones," she ordered. "Full recon sweep of the area. I want to know what's out there." Dozens of small, sleek drones shot out from the fleet, their engines flashing blue as they vanished into the dark. The bridge crew watched their feeds appear on the main screen. Broken enemy ships, clouds of metal fragments, the remains of fighters and stations. Then one drone's feed began to distort. Static rippled across its image. "Drone 4, you're breaking up," Holt said. The static deepened into blackness. For a moment, nothing moved. Then a shape appeared, enormous, distant, and moving slowly through the debris. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even solid. It looked like light bending around a shadow, a shimmer in the darkness, hundreds of kilometers wide. The bridge went silent. "Magnify," Mara whispered. The image sharpened. The shape had no edges, no clear form. But within it, patterns flickered. Symbols, maybe language, maybe thoughts. And for a brief instant, Mara thought she heard a whisper inside her own mind. They struck first. She stepped back. "Cut the feed!" she shouted. The screen went dark. Everyone stared at her. Her heart was pounding. That voice hadn't come from the speakers. It had come from inside. "What was that thing?" Holt asked, his voice shaking. "I don't know," Mara said, breathing heavily. But it wasn't the opposition. Across the fleet, crews grew restless. Strange dreams spread among them. The same dream again and again. A voice whispering through endless space. A feeling of being watched. In the observation deck of the Iron Saber, Reese sat with his first officer, Lieutenant Cara Dune. She stared out at the stars, her expression tight. "Doesn't feel like victory, does it?" she said. Reese shook his head. No, it feels like we woke something up. Suddenly, alarms flared across the fleet. Every ship's long-range sensors activated on their own. The signal that had been pulsing grew louder, faster. It wasn't random anymore, and it was forming patterns. Morse-like sequences of sound and light, repeating across all channels. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission, Holt said. From where? Everywhere. The voice that followed didn't belong to any known species. It was low, layered, echoing like 1,000 tones in one. The balance is broken. The destroyers have come. The bridge crew froze. What does that mean? Holt whispered. The bridge crew froze. What does that mean? Holt whispered. Before anyone could answer, the fleet's external lights flickered. Gravity fluctuated for a second. Every ship's artificial horizon tilted slightly, as if something massive had brushed against reality itself. Then the stars outside changed. A ripple spread through space, visible even to the naked eye. The black sky twisted and folded, revealing vast shadows beneath. Dozens, then hundreds of colossal shapes began to emerge. They weren't ships, not in any human sense. They were like fragments of night itself, wrapped in glowing threads of energy. Contacts! Massive contacts! Cried the sensor officer. They're all around us. Mara's voice was calm but cold. All ships, defensive formation. Prepare for... The transmission interrupted her again, louder now, almost angry. Your war has ended. The reckoning begins. The lights died. Every system went black. The fleet floated helplessly in the dark. The only thing left was that deep, slow heartbeat. Thump, 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 echoing through the void, growing louder and closer and far beyond. In the endless dark between stars, something vast opened its eyes for the first time in 1,000 years. The opposition had ceased to be, but the thing that had erased them had noticed humanity. The darkness stretched endless around the human fleet. No lights, no sound, only the slow pounding rhythm that echoed through every ship. Thump, thump, thump. It pulsed like a heartbeat from the void itself. Inside the resolute dawn, emergency lights flickered on one by one, painting the bridge in dull red. The crew sat frozen, faces pale as the systems rebooted with painful slowness. Status report, Admiral Mara Vance ordered, her voice steady but low. Minimal power restored, Commander Holt replied. Engines offline. Shields offline. Comms still jammed. Every channel is filled with that signal. The sound vibrated through the deck beneath their feet. It wasn't just heard. It was felt, like the heartbeat of something alive and near. Get me a visual outside, Mara said. The main screen lit up with static, then cleared to reveal a view that made everyone go silent. The stars were gone. All around them hung enormous shapes, dark, shifting things that glowed faintly at their edges, as if wrapped in mist and shadow. They moved slowly, silently, circling the human fleet like predators studying prey. Holt whispered, "What are they?" No one answered. A voice crackled through the comms, faint but urgent. "This is Captain Reese Calderon of the Iron Saber. Can anyone read?" "We read you, Iron Saber," Mara replied. "Report. Same here, Admiral. Total blackout for 3 minutes. Half our systems are dead." But his voice broke for a second. "We're seeing things out here. Big things. I think one of them is scanning us. It's not like any tech I've seen." "Stay calm and hold formation," Mara said. "Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage." There was silence. Then a different voice, a younger one from Reese's bridge crew, whispered over the open channel. "They're looking at us." The transmission cut. Mara turned to her sensor officer. "Track Iron Saber." "Trying, ma'am, but the readings—" "Wait." The officer's face went pale. "It's gone. Just gone." "What do you mean gone?" "Vanished. No explosion. No debris, just disappeared." The bridge went cold. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the signal changed. The deep thumping slowed, replaced by whispers, faint voices speaking in broken words, human and alien and something else. They spoke through every speaker, every console, every screen. "You came through the door. You woke the silence." Mara clenched her fists. "Shut it off!" "We can't," Holt said. "It's not coming through our systems. It is our systems." In the engineering decks of a nearby ship, the solar rain, chaos reigned. Panels sparked, alarms wailed, and crew members shouted over one another. Chief Engineer Leon Cho crawled under a console, her hands moving fast over tangled wires. "Whatever this is, it's rewriting our code," she shouted. "Every program we have is changing." "Rewriting into what?" her assistant yelled back. She looked up at him, her face pale. "It's turning into language." Across the fleet, screens began to display strange symbols, glowing patterns that pulsed in rhythm with the voice. The marks twisted, rearranged, and finally resolved into a single message written in human letters. We were silent. You broke the silence. On the resolute dawn, Mara stared at the words, her stomach tightening. "What does that mean?" Holt asked. "I think," Mara said slowly, "we've entered somewhere we weren't supposed to." Then suddenly the power returned in full. The stars blinked back into view. But they weren't the same stars. The constellations were wrong. The galaxy map showed they were nowhere near their original coordinates. They had been moved. "Admiral," said the navigation officer, voice trembling, "we're not in known space anymore." Holt turned to her in disbelief. "That's impossible." "No, sir. The readings are clear. We've been transported." Mara took a breath. "Try to establish contact with any surviving ships." Minutes later, the reports came in. Of the original 500 ships, only 200 responded. The rest had vanished. Mara closed her eyes for a moment. "What about the opposition's territory?" "Gone. Every trace wiped from our long-range scans. The enemy that had once seemed so powerful had been erased from the galaxy. Humanity's greatest threat was gone, but so were many of their own. And now, they were stranded somewhere unknown, surrounded by entities beyond understanding. Suddenly, another voice came through the comms, not the whispering one, but something clearer, almost mechanical. "This is Commander Eric Tal of the Vigilant Flame. Admiral, you need to see this." "Go ahead." A feed appeared on the main screen. It showed one of the massive dark shapes, now closer. It hovered silently above a shattered moon. As they watched, beams of light rose from its surface, forming shapes. Human ships, perfect copies, emerging from the light like ghosts. "Are those us?" Holt whispered. "They're scanning us and building replicas," Tal said. "Exact copies of our ships. Maybe our crews, too." Mara felt a chill down her spine. "End transmission. Get every ship ready for emergency warp. We're leaving." But before the order could be carried out, every display in the fleet changed again. The same message appeared across every screen. "They struck without warning. So shall you." And then came the voice, louder than before, shaking the ships to their core. "We will teach you silence again." The lights dimmed. The stars blinked out. The strange entities moved closer, surrounding the fleet completely. Admiral Vance gripped the edge of her command chair, her voice low but fierce. "If this is a God's game," she said, "then humanity will not go quietly." The resolute Dawn turned, its cannons charging once more. And as it fired into the dark, the first counterattack began. The first blast from the resolute Dawn lit up the void like a newborn star. Energy beams tore through the darkness, striking the nearest shadowed form. For a heartbeat, it looked like the creature, or whatever it was, had been hit. Then the light bent around it, swallowed, and vanished as if nothing had happened. "Direct hit," Holt reported. "But no damage." Admiral Mara Vance stared at the screen. "Impossible." That was a full strike. Outside, the shadows began to move. Slowly at first, like drifting clouds, but then faster, twisting and stretching, their forms reshaping into something almost recognizable. Some looked like ships. Others looked like fragments of planets mixed with light and mist, and through it all that deep sound returned. Thump, 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 as though the universe itself was alive and angry. "Return fire," Mara ordered. Across the fleet, cannons roared again. Plasma streaked across the black, missiles arced like lightning, and railguns screamed. The void turned white with energy. But when the glare faded, the shadows remained untouched. "They're not solid," Holt said quietly. "They're not even in our space." The bridge fell silent. Then the voice returned, echoing through every ship in the fleet. "We are not your enemy. You made us your mirror." The air grew colder. Consoles flickered. Screens showed brief flashes of faces, human faces, distorted, stretched, screaming. Crew members froze, watching their own reflections twist on the glass panels. Then one of the smaller ships, the Lancer's Cry, suddenly turned. Its engines flared to full power, and it fired straight at the Resolute Dawn. "What the hell?" Holt shouted. "They're attacking us!" "Get them on comms," Mara snapped. But before any connection could form, the Lancer's Cry opened fire. Energy blasts slammed into the flagship's shields, shaking the bridge. "Shields at 60%! Fire back!" The Resolute Dawn's turrets swung and fired. The smaller ship exploded in a burst of fire, but in that same moment, 3 more ships turned and attacked. The fleet was breaking apart, firing at one another in panic. "It's not them," Mara said, her voice grim. "It's those things. They're controlling the crews." Holt swallowed hard. "Then how do we fight something that's inside our minds?" In the chaos, Captain Rhys Calderon, aboard the Iron Saber, or what remained of it, stared at his new surroundings in disbelief. His ship had vanished, yes, but now he stood on what looked like a ship rebuilt from darkness and light. Everything around him shimmered faintly, like glass filled with smoke. His crew was gone. Only silence remained, filled with smoke. His crew was gone. Only silence remained. "Where am I?" he whispered. Then came the voice again, soft this time, almost kind. "You are between breaths. Between what was and what will be." Rhys turned, searching for the source. "Who are you?" "We were silence," it said. "We were peace. You broke it when you struck without warning." Rhys shook his head. "We were fighting for survival. They, the opposition, attacked us first." For a moment, everything went still. Then the shadow in front of him shifted shape, forming into something almost human, a tall, dark figure with glowing eyes. "Those you destroyed were our creation," the being said. "They were the ones who broke the stars long ago. We sealed them. You freed them. And now, both your kind and theirs are marked." Rhys's heart pounded. "So what do you want from us?" Silence again. Back on the Resolute Dawn, the battle grew worse. The shadow ships didn't fire weapons. They simply moved through the fleet, and every ship they touched went dark, lifeless, gone. Some were crushed like tin. Others just faded, vanishing without sound. 70 ships lost, Holt shouted. "We can't stay here." Mara looked at the star map. The region around them was changing again. Space itself was warping, curling in on all sides. "Prepare for emergency jump," she ordered. "Any direction. Anywhere away from here." The helmsman hesitated. "Ma'am, the navigation system is rewriting coordinates by itself." "Lock manual control and fire." The engines screamed as the Resolute Dawn tore through the void. One by one, the surviving ships followed, ripping through folds in space, leaving the nightmare behind. When they emerged, the stars were bright again. The silence was gone. The strange signal had vanished. But so had half the fleet. Mara stood on the darkened bridge, breathing heavily. "Status. Damage severe. Casualties. Too many to count." "We've lost all long-range comms," Holt said quietly. "Any sign of those things?" None. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, on the far side of the screen, a single point of light blinked. "Admiral," Holt said. "Something's there, a beacon. Human origin?" Mara frowned. "A colony?" "Unknown. But it's old. At least 200 years. Set course," she said. As the Resolute Dawn turned toward the lonely light, Mara thought of what the voice had said. "We were silence. You broke it. If that was true, then the real danger wasn't just out there in the dark. It was something humanity had unleashed without knowing. And now, whatever waited near that beacon might hold the answer. Or the next horror. Far behind them, where the fleet had fled, the shadows watched from the edge of the universe. They did not move. They did not follow. They only whispered, their voices like wind over bones. "They will learn. Silence will come again." The journey to the beacon was long and tense. The fleet moved through empty space, engines humming softly, the void stretching endless around them. Every officer on every deck felt it, the weight of what had happened. Ships gone, people gone, and no one could explain how. Admiral Mara Vance stood on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, watching the faint light of the beacon grow brighter on the main display. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat, not unlike the strange signal they had escaped from. "How far?" she asked quietly. "0.2 light minutes," Commander Holt replied. "We'll reach transmission range in 5 minutes. Any sign of the shadow entities?" "None. Space is clear." Mara exhaled, but her shoulders stayed tight. "Keep shields up. Let's not assume we're safe just yet." The silence stretched between them. Every console beeped softly. Every crew member whispered as if afraid to disturb the quiet. They were all thinking the same thing. Had they really escaped? Finally, the beacon came into full view. It wasn't a satellite. It wasn't a station. It was a ship. Old, massive, and human-built, but ancient. Its hull was cracked, blackened with age. The name barely showed through the damage, UHS Elysium. Holt stared. That ship disappeared over 200 years ago. It was one of the first colony vessels. Mara frowned. "Before the opposition war?" "Yes, ma'am. Decades before." "Get us closer," she said. As the fleet approached, lights flickered along the Elysium's hull. Dim golden lights, one by one, like a ship waking from a long sleep. "Admiral," the Coams officer said, "we're receiving a signal from the Elysium. It's weak, but it's there. Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was human, calm, slow, and ancient, like it had been waiting for centuries. "If you can hear this, then you've seen them." The silence. "Do not enter their space again." The crew froze. "Replay that," Mara ordered. The message repeated, identical. "If you can hear this, then you've seen them." The silence. "Do not enter their space again." Holt looked uneasy. Could it be a recording? "Maybe," Mara said. "But how would a ship 2 centuries old know about the same things we just encountered?" "Unless it already did," Holt replied quietly. Mara turned to her communications officer. "Is there any sign of life aboard?" The officer hesitated. "Faint readings. Could be automated systems, or something else." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Launch a small team. I want answers." Within the hour, a shuttle departed from the Resolute Dawn, carrying a squad of Marines and scientists, led by Lieutenant Cara Dune, once Race Calderon's first officer. The shuttle glided silently toward the dead ship, its lights cutting through drifting dust. Inside, Cara's voice came over the open channel. "Entering docking bay now. No signs of movement. Gravity is unstable." The sound of metal scraping echoed through the comms as the shuttle attached. Then silence, broken only by footsteps and breathing. "Lights on," Cara said. The bay illuminated, revealing rows of frozen cryopods, all empty. Each one had been opened from the inside. "Admiral," Cara's voice was tight. "There are hundreds of pods here, but no bodies." "Keep moving," Mara replied. They advanced through the corridors. The walls were covered in strange markings, human at first, but then changing, curling into the same alien symbols the fleet had seen before. The lights flickered as they passed. "Something's interfering with our scanners," Cara said. "It's like the ship is aware of us." Then the static hit. Every radio channel burst with noise. The strange heartbeat returned. Thump, 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 echoing through the Elysium's corridors. "Cara, report," Mara called. No answer. On board the Elysium, Cara gripped her rifle. "I heard that too," she whispered to her team. "Stay close." They entered the bridge. The air was heavy, stale, filled with dust and the faint hum of power still running through forgotten circuits. In the captain's chair sat a skeleton in a tattered uniform. A small data core blinked weakly in its lap. Cara knelt and picked it up. The device flickered to life, projecting a holographic log. The captain's voice, worn and tired, filled the room. "They came when we left Earth. We thought the stars were empty. We were wrong. The silence isn't a race, it's a boundary, a warning built into the universe. When something crosses it, they erase everything that breaks the rule." The voice cracked. "We tried to leave, but you can't leave their space. You can only forget it, or they make you part of it." Cara's face went pale. "Admiral, are you hearing this?" Static answered her. Then one of her Marines screamed. The sound echoed through the bridge as the shadows appeared again, crawling up the walls, forming into shapes. Faces flickered in the dark. "You were warned!" Kara fired, light cutting through the dark. But her rounds hit nothing. The shapes swallowed her team, one by one, until only her voice remained on the comms. "Admiral, it's not the ship. It's..." The signal cut. On the Resolute Dawn, the crew stared at the dead channel. Holt whispered, "They're gone!" Mara's fists tightened. "Retrieve that shuttle, now!" But before they could move, every ship's sensor lit up again. The Elysium was glowing, bright, burning from the inside. "Admiral, readings are spiking!" "Back us away!" she shouted. The ancient ship exploded in silence. No sound, no shockwave. Just a flash of white that filled the void. When it faded, the Elysium was gone. No debris, no trace. Only the echo of a message remained, repeating faintly across every frequency in the fleet. "The silence is not what you think. It is watching you now." The bridge went still. Mara turned slowly to Holt. "They warned us," she said, "and we ignored it." And somewhere, unseen beyond the stars, something stirred again. The same pulse returning, stronger this time, closer. Thump, thump, thump. Humanity had escaped one nightmare, only to realize it had never left it at all. The sound returned first, that deep, slow thump, thump, thump that no one could forget. It rolled through the decks of the Resolute Dawn like thunder under the floor. The crew froze where they stood. Some looked around as if the sound might be coming from inside their own skulls. "Admiral," Commander Holt's voice was thin. "The signal's back. Stronger than before. It's not just sound anymore. It's transmitting something." "What kind of something?" Mara asked. "Data, symbols, like a code. It's rewriting our systems again." "Cut power to everything non-essential," Mara ordered. "Seal the fleet into isolation mode." Across what remained of humanity's battle group, lights dimmed and engines slowed to idle. But it didn't matter. The pulse continued, steady and alive as if mocking them. Outside, space shimmered faintly. The explosion that had erased the Elysium had not vanished. It had spread. A faint white mist now stretched across the stars, forming patterns too perfect to be natural. Lines, circles, spirals, like a map drawn on the skin of the universe itself. Spirals, like a map drawn on the skin of the universe itself. "Admiral," said the navigation officer, "that mist, it's not gas, it's light. Directed energy, it's forming corridors." Corridors to where? No one answered. Mara stared at the main display. "Maybe it's showing us the way out." Holt gave her a doubtful look. "Or leading us in deeper." For a long time, no one moved. Then Mara made her choice. "We can't stay here. Set course along the nearest path. Keep weapons online." The fleet turned slowly toward the shining corridor, engines flaring back to life. As the ships entered the glowing tunnel, the stars around them faded away. The universe itself seemed to bend, folding into layers of shifting light. "This isn't hyperspace," Holt said. "It's something else entirely." "I know," Mara said, "but it's where they want us to go." Inside the corridor, time began to stretch. Hours felt like seconds, seconds like hours. Crew members whispered about strange dreams, visions of endless halls, of voices whispering from beyond. Some said they saw shadows walking inside the light, moving just out of view. In the medical bay, a technician screamed suddenly and dropped her tablet. The device displayed a face, a perfect image of herself, staring back and mouthing words she hadn't spoken. "Admiral," Holt said quietly when he brought her the report. "This corridor, it's not just a path. It's scanning us, copying us." Mara didn't respond right away. She was staring at her reflection in the dark glass of the bridge. For an instant, her reflection didn't move when she did. "Keep going," she said finally. "There's something at the end of this. I can feel it." Days, or what felt like days, passed before the light ahead began to change. A massive structure appeared in the distance, suspended in the middle of the corridor. It wasn't built like a station or a ship. It looked grown, shaped from metal and stone and light. "Admiral, we're detecting breathable atmosphere inside," said the science officer, "and human biosigns." Mara frowned. "That's not possible." Holt's voice was flat. "After what we've seen, ma'am, I don't think possible means much anymore." They brought the Resolute Dawn closer. The structure opened silently, petals of metal unfolding like a blooming flower. Inside was a vast chamber filled with drifting lights, like stars trapped in a bottle. In the center floated what looked like a city. When the first landing party stepped onto its surface, they realized the truth. It wasn't a city. It was wreckage. Pieces of human ships, old and new, fused together as if melted by some enormous heat. Mara walked among the ruins. Names from lost vessels glimmered faintly on torn metal: Solstice, Hammerfall, Elysium. All here, all together, as if gathered by unseen hands. Then, from the shadows, a figure appeared. It was human, or something that looked human. Its face was pale, its eyes black and endless, and its voice echoed like distant thunder. "You came again," it said softly. "You never learn." Mara raised her weapon. "Who are you?" "We were you once." The figure tilted its head. "Long ago, before you forgot, before you called the boundary space. We touched the silence and we became it." Mara's grip tightened. "You're saying humans created the silence?" "Not created," it said. "Became. Every time your kind reaches too far, the same thing happens. You open the door. The silence is what waits on the other side." Holt whispered, "That means this happened before, again and again." "Yes," the figure said. "You destroy, you vanish, and you begin anew, believing you are the first. It is the cycle that keeps balance. But this time, something changed." "What changed?" Mara asked. The being looked at her, and for a moment, she thought she saw sadness in its eyes. "You fought back." The ground shook. The chamber's lights flared bright white. The shadowed figure stepped back into the glow and began to dissolve. "You woke us all." Suddenly, alarms screamed across the Resolute Dawn. "Admiral, energy." "Spike! Massive surge inside the structure! Get everyone back to the ship!" Mara shouted. The landing teams ran, but light swallowed them as they moved. The structure began to unfold, its walls splitting open, forming an enormous ring of light. "Admiral," Holt said, staring at the sensors, "that's not a building, it's a gateway." "To where?" He looked at her, his face pale. "Everywhere." The fleet tried to pull away, but gravity itself twisted around them. Ships were dragged toward the ring, engines screaming. The corridor outside collapsed into darkness. As the Resolute Dawn systems failed one by one, Mara stood at the viewport, watching the ring grow brighter. "We've done this before," she said softly. "Over and over. Maybe this time we end it." Holt turned to her. "How?" She looked back at him, calm now, her decision made. "By stepping through." The Resolute Dawn's engines flared. One last time as it turned toward the gateway, leading what remained of humanity's fleet. Behind them, the silence gathered like a storm. Ahead, the ring shone like the eye of a god. And as they entered the light, everything, time, memory, fear, faded to white. Only the heartbeat remained. Thum, thum, thum. The light consumed everything. No sound, no form, no sense of motion, only a blinding white that burned and hummed like the edge of existence. The fleet vanished into it, swallowed whole. For a moment, Admiral Mara Vance felt nothing. Not fear, not pain, not even thought. She was suspended between moments, floating in silence that was too complete to be real. Then the light faded. When vision returned, Mara stood on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn. But something was wrong. The ship was quiet, too quiet. No voices, no footsteps, no hum of engines. She turned. The bridge crew was there, frozen like statues, their eyes wide and glassy. "Holt," she whispered. He didn't move. She walked slowly to the main viewport. Outside was not space. There were no stars, no galaxies, only endless gray. And in that gray floated the shapes of ships, thousands of them, stretching as far as the eye could see. Human ships, alien ships, even designs she didn't recognize, all suspended like leaves in still water. She touched the glass. "Where are we?" And the voice came again, not from a speaker this time, but from the air itself, vibrating through her chest. "Between what was and what might be." Mara spun around. The figure from the structure stood at the edge of the bridge, its form clearer now. A man and not a man, his features smooth, his eyes bottomless. "You entered the gate of silence," it said. "Few ever have. None have returned." Mara squared her shoulders. "So this is death?" The being tilted its head. "If that is what you believe it to be?" "Then why am I still here?" "Because you resisted. You refused to be silent. That choice changed everything." Mara's jaw tightened. "I didn't choose this war. We defended ourselves." "All say that," the being replied softly. "Every species that reaches the edge of the silence believes its war is righteous. Everyone unleashes destruction to prove it. And everyone becomes part of this place, the echo chamber of those who thought they were different." Mara looked out again at the endless field of frozen ships. "So all of them, once alive, once defiant." "Then tell me this," she said, stepping closer. "If this is the end, why bring us here? Why not just erase us like the others?" The being's expression flickered, as if confused by the question. "Because you did what none before have done. You turned the strike of silence into an echo. You answered back. What does that mean? It means the silence can no longer forget you." The ground trembled. The gray outside began to shimmer, ripples spreading like waves on water. The frozen ship started to move, slowly at first, then faster, drifting toward the resolute dawn. "Admiral!" Holt's voice suddenly came from behind her. He was alive again, his eyes blinking as if waking from a long sleep. Where are we?" "Nowhere," Mara said quietly. "And everywhere. Ma'am, look." The ships outside began to ignite, one by one, flickering with soft light. They weren't burning, they were awakening. The gray turned golden as thousands of vessels lit up, their engines glowing, their hulls shining like stars reborn. Holt stared in awe. "They're alive!" Mara didn't answer. The being stepped forward, its voice now resonating like a chorus. "This is the choice before you. You can remain here, part of the eternal balance, silent and still. Or you can return, and carry the noise of your kind with you." "Return?" Mara whispered. "You'd let us leave?" "Nothing leaves the silence unchanged, but yes. The gate listens to those who dare to speak." Mara turned to Holt and the bridge crew, now stirring back to life, confusion and fear in their eyes. "We didn't come this far to fade away. Plot a course, any course that leads out." Holt blinked. "But Admiral, we don't even know what out is." "Then we'll find out," she said firmly. The Resolute Dawn's engines hummed to life. The ship shook as light flared from its hull, golden lines tracing across the metal like veins of fire. One by one, other ships followed, hundreds of them, human and alien alike, aligning into formation behind her. The being watched silently. Mara looked at it through the glass. "You called us destroyers," she said. "Maybe we are. But destroyers can build too. If the silence can't forget us, then maybe it should learn to hear us." For the first time, the being smiled, faint, distant, almost human. "Then speak, child of noise." Mara's voice carried through every ship in the fleet. "This is Admiral Mara Vance of the United Human Fleet. We came here in war. We leave seeking truth. Whatever the silence is, whatever it was, it won't end us. We'll end the cycle." The fleet moved forward. The light ahead grew brighter, shifting from gold to white. The heartbeat returned, deep and strong, but now it was joined by another, faster, louder, humanity's own. Thumb, 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 thumb. Two rhythms merging into one. As they crossed the threshold, the voice of the silence echoed one last time. Not in warning, but in something like respect. "Then let the stars remember your name." The resolute dawn and the fleet burst out of the gray into a sky filled with new constellations, a galaxy unseen by any map, young and alive. The shadow of the past was gone. Mara stood at the viewing deck, watching the stars bloom before her. "Mark this as humanity's new beginning," she said softly. "And may we earn the noise we make." Behind her, the crew watched in silent wonder as the fleet spread its wings across the unknown. Far away, deep in the dark they had left behind, the silence pulsed once, faintly, like a sigh of distant thunder. It did not vanish. It simply listened. And for the first time in eternity, the universe was no longer quiet. The stars ahead shimmered like fresh paint on the canvas of creation. For the first time in what felt like forever, humanity's fleet drifted through a sky untouched by war. The ships were battered, scarred, their hulls scorched with the memory of battles and shadows, but they were alive. They had crossed the impossible. On the bridge of the resolute dawn, Admiral Mara Vance stood silently before the main viewport. The new galaxy stretched before her, vast, bright, and unfamiliar. Planets glowed like lanterns in the distance, nebulae swirled with colors unseen by any human eye, and a soft hum filled the air, a low, steady rhythm. "The heartbeat of this place. Status report," she said quietly. Commander Holt, his uniform torn and his voice weary but steady, replied, "Engine stable. Hull integrity at 80%. Communications partially restored. And Admiral," he paused, "there are no familiar star patterns. None. We're somewhere completely new." Mara nodded. "Good. That means the silence didn't follow." For a moment, no one spoke. The air was heavy with the kind of quiet that only comes after survival, the kind where hearts still race, unsure if they should rest or run. Then, from the tactical deck, a young officer called out, "Admiral, we're detecting something ahead." Faint energy readings from a nearby planet. "Looks artificial." Mara turned sharply. "Human?" "Maybe. It's hard to tell." Holt frowned. "Another trap?" Mara shook her head. "If we've truly left their realm, it could be something else. A chance." She watched the distant world on the display. It was small, blue-green, half covered in clouds, half bathed in gold light from a nearby star. For a brief moment, it looked like home. "Set a course," she said. The fleet moved closer, slow and cautious. As they entered orbit, the sensors came alive, structures on the surface, unmistakably artificial but ancient. Towering monoliths, long overgrown and ruins scattered across deserts and mountains. "Scans confirm breathable air, stable climate," Holt said. "There are no signs of life. But the technology, it's advanced. Maybe older than humanity itself?" "Prepare a landing team," Mara ordered. "I'll lead it myself." "Admiral," Holt began, but she cut him off with a look. "We didn't come this far to hide behind glass." The shuttle descended through golden clouds, its engines humming softly. As it broke through the atmosphere, a vast landscape came into view. Green valleys, endless oceans, and great stone towers that pierced the clouds. Lightning danced across the far horizon, but the light was soft, almost peaceful. When the shuttle touched down, the silence of the planet was overwhelming. Not dead silence, but living stillness, the kind that carried weight, like the air itself was waiting. The landing party stepped out. Dust rose under their boots. "Admiral," said Cara Dune, one of the survivors from the lost Iron Saber, "the air's pure, Feels almost perfect. Mara knelt, touching the ground. The soil shimmered faintly beneath her fingers. This place is different. It's not just alive, it's aware. As they advanced toward one of the ancient towers, faint lights flickered within its walls. The structure responded to their presence, opening silently to reveal an interior of glass and stone. Inside, they found what looked like a chamber of memory, walls covered in moving patterns of light. Images appeared, galaxies forming, civilizations rising and falling, ships crossing the stars. Humanity was among them, but so were others, countless others. Kara stared, eyes wide. It's a record, a history of everything that's ever lived. Mara stepped closer to the glowing wall. As she reached out, the light gathered around her hand, forming symbols that translated into words. Noise becomes memory. Memory becomes creation. The silence ends when understanding begins. She whispered the words aloud, and as she did, a pulse of energy filled the room. The walls shifted, showing the image of the resolute dawn, their fleet drifting in orbit above this very world. Then the perspective zoomed out, showing the galaxy itself, and beyond it the faint outline of another galaxy, their old home. "Admiral," Holt's voice came through her comm. "We're picking up something incredible. The planet's energy output is stabilizing our systems. It's repairing the fleet." Mara smiled faintly. "It wants us to live." "Ma'am, that doesn't make sense. Planets don't... Maybe not where we came from," she said. "But here, the rules are different." That night, under an alien sky filled with unfamiliar constellations, Mara stood outside the tower, watching the stars reflect off the ocean below. The survivors built a temporary camp nearby, their ships circling the planet above like silent guardians. Holt joined her, holding a data pad. "We've named it Haven. It seemed right." Mara looked up. "Haven?" She said the word softly, as if testing it. "Let's hope it earns the name. Do you think we're safe here?" Mara thought of the silence, the endless gray, the voice that had called them children of noise, the warning that the cycle always returned. "No," she said quietly, "but maybe safety isn't the point anymore. Maybe this is where we learn to listen, before we destroy again." The wind shifted, carrying with it a faint hum, a sound like a distant heartbeat, but softer now, gentler. Thump. Thump, thump, not a warning, a reminder. As the night deepened, the stars above Haven seemed to move ever so slightly, aligning into shapes that shimmered for just a moment, an outline of a human hand reaching toward something vast. And for the first time since the war began, Mara Vance smiled. "Humanity entered the war zone," she whispered, "and struck without warning. But this time, we build instead." She turned toward the camp where fires glowed warm against the alien dark. The survivors laughed, worked, and rebuilt, not soldiers now, but explorers again. Far beyond Haven's new dawn, in the deep dark between galaxies, the silence watched and listened, but it did not strike. It simply waited, and wondered if, at last, the noise had learned to become something more. And so began the age of the Echo Fleet, not a fleet of war, but of memory, carrying the sound of humanity into the endless unknown, no longer as destroyers, but as those who finally understood what it meant to be heard.